back to the cold north, away from the long hot days of the endless sunsets in Oklahoma. The last sailor had been walking for days. He continued the exploration of the land of his ancestors into a place that for centuries had been known as Wyoming, but now politically belonged to the von Straubing Imperium. Today, the last sailor smelled a familiar smell in the air, burning human flesh. He had once smelled enough of it in his past. This was all the convincing he needed to explore the origin of the smell, for heroes are also wise fools. He crawled over a small hill where the scent of burning flesh was strong. Overcome with sickness, he peered into the oblivion. Before him was an overturned semicircle of stones. Looked like they had once been an astronomical observatory for pagan rituals, but had recently been turned over in desecration. He soon saw who had done this. The reason was in a smog of burning flesh. It was a camp ringed in laser wire and fences made of steel razors. There were emaciated men, women, and children imprisoned here. They were slaves, and that was the plan. This was a concentration camp, and these people had been brought here to die. Bodies stink of death. Where humanity had once dwelt, there was a hole. In that hole, a skull named Atrocity. Before the last sailor could take another breath laced with Holocaust, he heard the sound of someone behind him. He slowly turned around. A plasma rifle was pointed at him by a hooded young woman who looked strong and dark. Her tribal dress of uniform was unique, almost military style. She had an insignial patch on the right arm of her parka, and under her hood was a soldier's cap with another pagan insignial patch on it. The last sailor had a good idea who he was dealing with. He responded appropriately and spoke to her. Long live the many faces of God. The last sailor knew she was an engineer, a rare pagan soldierhood who were descended from an older warrior order that had helped build the legendary common realm 1,000 years ago. The woman soldier put down her plasma rifle, but she still looked stern. "You'd be wise to get out of here," she warned. The tone of her voice had the easy lilt of the simple countryside. "We're busy evacuating all our Pagani people away from here, these Christian soldiers." And the engineer spit with hatred and disgust. "These Christian devils are too overpowering here." The last sailor then asked a question. "Where am I?" And a young woman pagan soldier replied, "This is the land my people once lived on. But those damn von Straubing bastards took these lands. And those murderers at the death camp claim this as a crusader state of Edessa, validated as a Christian nation clean of pagans. My people." The last sailor had had enough of the smell of burning flesh. "So who is running those death camps then?" The engineer answered, "Damn Teutonic Knights." She spit again. "My name is Janus, and you're my guest." She smiled a country grin. "Why don't you come with me?" The last sailor shook her hand and agreed, happy to leave this place. They both left together, unknowing of the wounds they both shared. The two strangers to one another left the Valley of Death in an ancient automobile that stank of putrid heptylene. Janus, the engineer, told the last sailor that this car had been around since the Recognition Wars. The last sailor doubted that, after all, the Recognition Wars had happened 1,000 years ago, on the eve of the breakup of the United States of America. But knowing these pagan engineers and their long history, it was not improbable that Janus was correct. Janus said, "My roots go way back to the Bales exiles to Antarctica. My last name is Southcross, named after the southern pole star constellation." They drove north that day. Janus, the engineer, explained they were heading towards a place called Montana, part of a greater land called Tasia. She explained the history of the land, principally the atomic wasteland of southern Montana that had been destroyed by a former emperor of the Earth. Janus talked about what it meant to her. This was once the land of my Pagani ancestors too. They were destroyed by their own vanity. I'm afraid this has always been the pitfall of my people. After hours of driving through fertile farmland full of the superstitious people of the American countryside, they both arrived at their destination. The last sailor was amazed at what he saw. Built into the mountains was a giant assemblage of stone houses and temples, collected around each other into a large mountain community. Janus explained to the last sailor that the settlement was based on High Common Realm era architecture, built by our ancestors 1,000 years ago. She said, "It's called Communitaria, protected by the dual armies of the Red and Black Banner. The Tajan philosopher kings permit this city to exist in their kingdom." As the two of them walked around through villages of the mini-city, the last sailor witnessed the life behind these High Common Realm era walls. All around, the last sailor could see it was a strange community of diverse people. They lived here in hope for greater human prosperity in an age when uncertainty gripped the planet. Janus told the last sailor that the soul of Communitaria was embodied in an old man named the Monkey Messiah. He was the spiritual leader of a religion that she explained as the wolf who eats the body of God. Janus then cryptically added, "It's important that you meet him." And in no time at all, they were dining with the religious leader of Communitaria, the Monkey Messiah. And in the late hours of the feast, it became a drunken orgy of alcohol and screaming monkeys throwing their own feces. The Monkey Messiah recognized the stranger at his table, who of course was the last sailor. He yelled across the table at him, "You stranger! Tell me what you have seen of my America! How does the wolf eat the body of God in your eyes? Tell me, or my monkeys will shit on you!" The last sailor nodded at him. "Let's get some more drinks poured and then you'll have your cable, monkey man." That was done. And before the last sailor could begin his accounts of what he had seen of America, Janus, the engineer, pagan soldier, and defender of our people, said a prayer underneath her breath. The last sailor removed a harmonica from his coat pocket and played the opening bars of an instantly recognizable tune. The song was famous. It was the Star Spangled Banner. He then spoke in a voice comfortable with the powers of storytelling. His voice had an easy gait to it as he began to explain himself. "My name is Anacreon Orgenemin, and in this age of our subjugated planet, under the yoke of the Octopi Incorporated Lords, we see a glimmer of hope in the heavens. In the dual moon of Sky, Luna, and Ceres, we see some cause for celebration, but not much. My story begins in America with great loss. I'm here because I have nowhere else to go. The days of adventure on the seas of the Pacific are over for me. My friends are dead, and the flames of destruction have made a humiliating trophy that my life once was. But my story of loss is not special. It's not more important than anyone else's stories. For in the land of my ancestors, I understand the great pendulums of history have swung back and forth. They say in America, no culture can supersede another culture without some form of resurgence happening here. I think I pale into importance to all the other injustices in America which need to be corrected, and so I will wait my turn. Anacreon Orgenemin began with the California archipelago, the first stop he had made in the land of America. I suppose you all have your own fables of golden California to go along with classic America. I've heard that California is referred to as the Atlantis of America, a place too incredible to be believed, lost forever beneath the ocean during the tribulations. Its secrets only myths, and that is all. I can only tell you of what I have seen. Nothing remains of what California used to be. Anacreon talked about his next stop and a place he knew all too well, the waterport city of Viva Las Vegas. Some say that the gold coffers of ancient Las Vegas are the last vestiges of the richness America once had, once was. Some talk about it like it's the proof of a fabled time. What I've seen is a city ready to sell away its own safety for the price of American creature comforts. The pirate mercenary fleets of Viva Las Vegas have been granted port and call in the city as long as they keep the golden light protected for all its citizens. Now, it's a city overrun with the very mercenaries hired to protect it. Anacreon went on to explain the last stop he had made in America. It was Deseret, the religious kingdom, and the land also known as Utah. In the house that Brigham built and John saw Lee almost destroyed, there is a gentle prosperity that Moab Stevens saved. It's called the Kingdom of Deseret, Zion, where the green alkaline valleys are hoisted upright by the words of the old Utah saints. Here my canoe first ground ashore, and I looked straight into the pounce of the Lion of Judah. When I would have expected a challenge because I was the trespasser, I was instead greeted with assistance. This hospitality came from a people who had repeatedly been persecuted by outsiders. I asked myself, where was their anger? It was then that the winds of debate entered the tale of Anacreon. A draft swept itself from the shoulders of the monkey Messiah. He spoke loud and clear. What bothers you is that our Deserite cousins never should have helped you at all, is that right? Anacreon responded. Given I was a stranger, yes. Given again their long history of being persecuted by outsiders, why should they have trusted me? The monkey Messiah screeched with laughter. Who said they trusted you, dear sailor? The point is, yes, they as a people have been visited by death, but that also opens them up to life. Being comfortable with the hardships is not closing up oneself. Anacreon disagreed. Fate is cruel, monkey man. The religious leader of Communitaria screeched. Listen to the twisted branches of my life and hear how more cruel we can be than fate when we fear that imminent death of any kind at the other end of every action we think of taking. When that happens, life doesn't open up, it's closed upon itself, creating the pain of life we see all around us. Janus the engineer, pagan soldier, spoke at this moment. The storyteller is a vessel of blame, unless he accepts his burden as a wise fool. Now tell our guest Anacreon about the astronaut who fell to Earth. In that instant, more liquors of wildness were poured. The room of Vasalites and monkeys became excited with the expectancy of hearing the monkey Messiah's tale. Obviously, the tale was a popular one among them all.